Welcome to the season finale edition of NASCAR Inside the Race, presented by Consumer Cellular. I'm Drew Blickensderfer, crew chief of the 10, joined by Travis Peterson, crew chief of the 34. Well, Travis, we made it to the end and finally crowned our champion.
Yeah, I don't know about those numbers since both of us have new jobs for next year, but staying focused on the 2024 season, Joey Logano won. A season of clutch moments for that 22 team. Getting into the playoffs on a strategy win, getting through a round with a guy getting thrown out on points, getting the win with the help of a teammate. We've talked about it, Team Penske at Phoenix. It was going to be hard to beat, and that's what it came down to, is those two cars.
Yeah, we know that 22 never quits. They showed it through this playoff run for sure. There was a couple challenges even on Sunday, and we can dive into some of those.
Yeah, talking about Team Penske, the very first thing we have here is there was some issues with their jackman. You see this first stop, he fumbles the tire a little bit. They go around, they have a slow stop. It wasn't a terrible, catastrophic thing. I think he lost 4 or 5 spots on this pit stop. But after that one, they had one more, and I think that guy was feeling a little under the weather. They showed him on the sidelines. I don't know that we actually know exactly what happened, if he had a bug or something was going on with heat, or if he had, something more physical problem-wise. But they had to go call in the relief.
Yeah, they got the jackman from the 2-car, Austin Cindric. He comes down, and he gets called up. And in this moment, the heat is on. You're about halfway through the race. You're called in to jack a car that can win a championship, that qualified better than any other championship hopeful car during the Saturday part of qualifying. So it was fast up front. He gets in here and has to perform, and it looks like he does it flawlessly.
Yeah, they execute great the rest of the day. It is tough for these guys to jump in with a group of guys. You have your core group of guys that work together every week, and part of the reason you're so fast on pit road is just all those little subtle details of how you work with that guy, and you understand how he pulls a tire and all those little nuances. So very impressive job for him to jump in. Great effort by the whole organization to pull that off.
Yeah, not only did Joey Logano have to battle some issues on pit road and switching out some crew members, but his teammate on track. The 12 and the 22 battled throughout the day towards the front of the field.
At different points, they swapped. This is lap 199, again, early run, which we'll see play into the end result, but early run, the 22 is able to go past the 12 right here.
Yeah, the 22 looked really good on short run, the 12 a little better on long run, and the 12, he just couldn't get his car to the bottom of the racetrack to take the arrow away from Joey, and he gets inside of him. Joey was really good all day long of being able to run the yellow line, even go below it when he needed to, and turn off the corner, which is super important, especially off turn 4.
Yeah, they have a long battle right here where they're both side by side for a number of laps, and I'm sure Byron's kind of licking his chops, hoping that they're going to burn their stuff up, but 22 is finally going to complete the pass. The strength of these cars all day was just wrapping this line. There's a lot of ways to run around Phoenix, whether you go, there's lines that you come in and you go high and you get this big point, or you can see Byron down here going all the way underneath just trying to cut distance. The 22 is just super strong, right on the line, wrapping, able to finish the corner, getting the gas early, and that's how he completes this pass on the 12 right here.
Yeah, you see a lot of times Joey will even go below onto the apron on exit, and this time he didn't need to. This is about 10-15 laps into the run. It took Blaney a little while to get going, and we can fast forward probably about 30 laps and see these two battle again.
The 12 stayed right with the 22, and now he's lurking, closing the gap on him. And just like we said, their cars kind of flip-flopped over the course of a run, and we'll see how that played into the final run of the race. But now the 22's up the track a little bit. 12's wrapping that bottom, getting those low exits. Now he's side-by-side again, and I believe 12 is going to complete the pass down here in 3 and 4.
Yeah, and what you could see in front of Joey there was some lap traffic. Joey's catching people. It gets him in a little dirtier air, and he has to start searching, not only for clean air, but where his car will make the most grip if it's not around that yellow line when he's around people.
Yeah, this is a factor here. You have a car up here that's coming to pit road, so maybe Joey was thinking his preferred lane was on the bottom, but he knew that car was coming to pit lane. He couldn't be down there. Gives Blaney just barely an opportunity to stay below him and gets side by side and completes that pass. So now the 12's in control, and we have one more pit stop to make, and that's where it changes up a little bit with a couple other championship contenders. So we're going to show a graph here, the 24 and 5 cars. So they were kind of in the race all day, just lurking behind the Penske cars. Right here is where the Penske cars pit. They inherit the lead, and they're running to what is probably the even math because those guys came early. We said they're undercutting the field. And what's interesting about this is right here in this window where the 5 stays on track, the 24 does pit. He comes at 248. The math was early 250s for an even split. So if he'd have stayed committed to that strategy, he might have caught the yellow and been able to pit and have the lead the way the 5 car did. but instead he stays out on, maybe a lap tires and still inherits the lead. It definitely shuffles everything up. But one thing I thought was a little bit dangerous right there was his teammate, the 5, stayed on track when he pitted. And you lose just over 1 lap. Fortunately, 24 was the leader. Let's look at when he comes out because it is really close. The timing of the caution, the way he comes off a pit road, he could have been trapped a lap down having to do a wave around. Instead, he barely comes out ahead of this 5 car, and it keeps him in contention to then inherit the lead when he stays out.
Yeah, you see him coming in right next to the 5 car. And what's going on here, people are like, well, he just left pit road. Couldn't Kyle Larson go by him? What's going on there? Well, Kyle Larson's got 45 laps on his tires. He's got quite a few laps, and he's running about a second off what William Byron can on new tires. So as soon as William comes out next to him, entering turn 1, he's able to wrap the bottom and clear him, and it puts him in a great spot for the caution to come out about a lap later.
We did look at the data to see if the 5 kind of gave it to him, and 5 ran the same lap time all 3 of the laps right here before he pitted. So it was just naturally he came out. They timed it perfect where they didn't lose a lap. Good execution to give him a chance. So let's go jump and look at that restart.
Most of these guys realize this is the championship or not. They're going all out for this one, no holds barred. We need to get to the front.
You have everybody that's competing for a championship all in the same shot. Everybody's pitted. You have enough fuel and tires to make it to the end. You got William Byron in the lead, the 22 back here, 3rd row on the inside. Blaney, 3rd row on the outside, and right behind him, Reddick. Unfortunately, Reddick kind of was in this position all day, just slightly behind the other guys. Didn't play a huge factor, but we're actually going to see on this restart, he does play a little bit of a factor in the way the 12 gets going.
One thing about restarts at Phoenix is they're wild and they're 4 and 5 wide coming through the dog leg. And when you get to turn 1, the outside is actually the preferred because you can keep your momentum up to go down the back stretch, but the bottom gives you options. You can get cleaner air because you can just keep getting lower on the apron like you see here. When you get below this line, there's still grip down there, and you can spread out and get enough grip for a couple corners to where you can stay side by side next to someone down the backstretch.
Yeah, and I feel like you have 2 kind of options to be on the offense here. It's either going to be super low and cutting everybody in, going chasing clean air, or you want to be up here getting an arc to have a huge run down the backstretch. And you can see right here, the 12 is kind of trying to get that arc. He's trying to come up the track, and he actually makes a little bit of contact with the 45. You see the smoke coming off the cars. 12 has to commit to the middle of the track, and I think all of this is going to be very important because as we play it forward going into turn 1 here, you can see the 12 and 22 are side by side. They both have this cut. One thing that their cars did incredibly well was right here through the center, cut down. They could cut down and get low drive exits that had a lot of momentum. They both do that, but the difference is the 22's in clean air and the 12's not.
The thing that you also notice is they've got 2 Hendrick teammates, and Tyler Reddick is right behind him, and he can't get clean air on his nose. This is the opportunity for Tyler Reddick to get some magic going late in the race to try to leap some of these guys to get some clean air on his nose to have a shot to win the championship. But it does give Joey Logano some clean air to get back to the apron and get a good run off and get right behind the 20 going down the backstretch.
The 12 gets a good run, but the 22 is just going to get control right here because he has a great run down the backstretch. And another key moment, we're going to jump to another view. We can see right here the 20 car is actually off the bottom. We talk a lot about air blocking and taking somebody's lane. Let's jump on Joey's onboard and watch what happened here because this really allows him to take control.
Yeah, right here, the 20 car is going side by side with the 24. And what you want if you're Joey Logano is the 20 to wash up and give you clean racetrack. We talked about how the 22 and the 12 wrap lines really well laid off the corner. And if you can wrap turn 4 really smoothly around here and stay on it all the way around, you can get a good launch and stay up next to somebody who's running the outside. Gives you the ability to cut the dog leg and maybe get in front of them. But what you want is clean air on your nose. And Joey Logano is gifted that by Christopher Bell kind of missing the bottom. It looks like he chased it loose getting in the corner. He's able to wrap that line and clear him getting down into turn 1.
Next thing you know, Joey's the outright leader, and it's his race to lose at that point. Let's jump back right there after he clears from this overhead camera because it was really good. This is the same point that we just finished looking at the in-car, and we've talked about how Blaney's going to have to come through traffic now, right? And we know he gets close, but right here, Joey's in clean air, setting sail, and the next 3 guys are 3 wide in front of Blaney, which is going to contribute to the time delta graph we have, which shows that for a while here at the beginning of this run, this starts from the moment of that restart. And you can see for a good portion of the first 15, 20 laps, Blaney's going the wrong way here. He's going downhill, losing gap to the 22. And there's a battle he has with every car he's trying to pass now that there were 3 of them in front that we need to look at.
Yeah, and what you can see here is 2.5 seconds behind, 4.5 seconds. So he's roughly 3 seconds behind about a quarter of the way through this run. And that's a ton of time to make up, especially with not many laps to go.
Let's watch his battle with the 5, because Blaney talked a lot about this and his struggles getting through the 5 in 24. I think what's interesting here is I didn't see a lot where the 5 did anything wrong. The 12 just kind of struggled a little bit on this early run where the 22 drove away and the 5 was just maybe a little better than him right here.
Yeah, there's guys in the field that'll air block you, and you just dread coming up that you know you have to try to pass when we're sitting on the box watching, oh man, this guy's going to be hard to get by. Kyle Larson does nothing wrong here. Kyle Larson is running the exact same line in all of these laps that you and I rewatched here. He's running all the way down on the yellow line, time after time again, saying, Ryan Blaney, okay, if you're so fast, come past me. And it took a while for Ryan to do that because these were fairly equally matched cars, especially when you're the car behind. If you're just slightly better, it's hard to make that pass.
And you see the difference was for the majority of that clip, the 5 is wrapping the bottom. We talked how that's where the Penske cars preferred, and that's where they're good. The time that the 12 finally gets his opening to pass, the 5 moves up the track, and it gives the 12 the bottom, and he finally gets the job done to get past him.
That was probably a little bit of a, I've held you up long enough. If you can go catch him, here's your shot.
We're talking about this point, he starts to get clear. He's got maybe another little while where he's around the 24 car after he runs him down, and then he really starts to close the gap. 12 is moving up closer and closer to the 22, 22 maybe fading. Let's listen into what their spotters are talking about, because it's very interesting what the difference in a car chasing somebody down is and what the car that's in control of the race is listening to.
Just bare minimum, no extra information, just let him work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Remember, he has that center squirt that he had earlier in 3. 7 more within 1, headlight down. Momentum slight to you. 1, climbing. Lane higher 1, 1.25, pivoting mid lane now to the bottom. 3/4 bottom, half bottom with a run, half with a run to you. Inline lower, still clear, drop, half lower. Drop 6 to go here. 6 more. Momentum to you by 1.25. You got to earn this thing right here. Let's go.
We heard spotters there, Travis, talk about how when you're in the lead, you're telling him exactly where the car behind him is running so you can maybe block some air, especially in a moment like this. Mm-hmm. If you're the car behind, you heard Jonathan Hassler and Tim Fidoa talk, just don't talk any you can. Let Ryan Blaney go to work. He's searching all over the racetrack. And I think everybody in the field knows when you're coming up trying to pass the 22 car, it's like passing a kidney stone, Travis. He is the hardest guy in the field to get by because Joey does a great job of taking advantage of every little aspect of whatever race car he's driving.
What's interesting here is the last 3 laps we're going to look at. We're going to compare the 12 and 22 for a couple laps here, but they each had different strengths, and I think that played into it. They were pretty evenly matched at the end there. Blaney had a lot of pace catching them, but once he got right behind him and they both had similar lines here where they were happy with their cars, it was just too much to overcome for him to get the pass done.
Yeah, here with a handful of laps to go, you can see Ryan Blaney, like we saw on the graph, is catching him. And the strength from the time graph is right here coming off turn 2. When you come off turn 2 and down the backstretch, it stays pretty even, but he got a great run off turn 2, and that allowed him to close up. And you see the ghost car with Blaney, he's ahead of Joey coming to the line. So this was a lap when he caught him fairly significantly.
Yeah, a little over 2/10 on this lap as he's catching him. But then you're going to see just a couple laps later, as the gap's probably now closed and the 12's in his dirty air, it switches. And now the 12's having to search, go up the track, try to find another place to get the pass done. And now it's right back to that same strength they both had, wrapping the bottom and getting a good run center off. And Joey kind of just gets a little bit of margin in both corners here, able to run lower on the racetrack.
Yeah, this is when Ryan Blaney's like, he's going to run the line I'm good at. I'm sure he's being told that by Coleman Presley, what line Ryan has been running all day long. They were around each other most of the race. He knows where he's strong at. Joey's like, my car's pretty good in the same spot. If I take that away, he has to go somewhere where he's not as good, and that'll allow us to kind of even out, and that's what you saw the last few laps.
And it's kind of a repeat. We talked about how the 5 earlier was, running just his lane and making the 12 go around. Let's look at the last 3 laps for the 22 car right here, because the 22 car, yeah, he's doing some different stuff in the dog leg, but if you look at all the final 3 laps, he's right there, just painting that line with a little low-cut exit. This is where the 22 car was good. He knows what the guy's doing in his mirror, but he knows if he just executes his line, he's going to have the car that can get beat.
And what's amazing here, Travis, is if you look at when Joey Logano drops throttle, picks up throttle, drops throttle into turn 3, and picks it up again in turn 4, it's almost surgical. The lines are over top of each other every lap. Joey Logano was on his game. He's leading the race. It's pretty amazing to see those 3 laps over top of each other with throttle and brake and everything that Joey's doing the exact same to hit his marks.
Let's look at the flip side of that, what the 12 was having to do to try to get the job done and pass him.
Yeah, you see the brake pedal on the 12. The brake pedal on the 12 is kind of all over the place, and that's because he's running different lines, which means he's running in the corner harder one time to see if it'll stick and be able to take it. He's backing up his corner to see if he can maybe slow the car down to the middle to get a good run off. He's trying not only things with his feet, with his hands, but also his racing line to try to get a run on Joey to at least get up next to him and race it to the line.
3 to go is the green line, 2 to go is the orange line, and the blue one is the very final lap. And he goes everywhere on the racetrack. He follows him in with 3 to go. He says, okay, that's not going to work. I'm going to go to the middle and try to cut down. And then the final lap, he says, okay, I can't get it done in those 2 ways. I'm going to try a 3rd way. And every time, it's the same answer. If you look right here on this time delta, just that tipping into throttle and the exit of the corner for what Joey had center off is just where he pulls that little bit of distance every single time.
Yeah, Blaney's doing everything he can these last 3 laps. How am I going to catch the 22 if we're so even at this point of the race? And even on this last lap, he's shipping it in there. You see extra brake pedal here, trying to get the thing slowed down in the middle 1 and 2. He's getting off the brake super early in 3 and 4 to try to roll and see if it'll stick. And it just doesn't work out to where he can get to either the back bumper or inside of Joey to race him to the start-finish line.
Yeah, who knows if they were teammates or not, if you're going to move your teammate for a championship. Those are spots that you probably don't want to be in, but he didn't get there. He didn't get the job done. Joey Logano wins the championship. Amazing job for the 1-2 by Team Penske. That's pretty much all she wrote right there.
Yeah, Travis, the 3rd championship in a row for Team Penske, and Joey Logano got his 3rd Drivers' Championship. And thank you for tuning in to another year of NASCAR Inside the Race. Hope you enjoyed it. Be on the lookout next year for more content.